What's happening? Welcome back to the Shoveit podcast. Today I want to talk very briefly about something I got served today on Instagram. So I got this video from Adam Mosseri, not directly from him, he just posted it on the internet and I saw it. Adam Mosseri is the head of Instagram and he posts these updates all the time, being like, hey, here's some new features on Instagram that everybody wanted. You asked for it, we delivered. And then you go to the comment section and everyone's like, no one fucking asked for this, Adam. This is another useless update on Instagram. Instagram was a very simple app, very easy to use, and it was a very basic transaction between viewer and creator. And they've just fucking overcomplicated it over the years. It's got more and more complicated, and it looks like we're never going to get our nice simple app back. But we do get these updates every now and then. And this one is called trial reels, which is the stupidest phrase, like trial reels. Hey, I'm just going to do some trial reels here. So the gist of what a trial reel is an opportunity for you to post a reel and mark it as a trial. And then it doesn't show up on your page, in your posts, doesn't show up in your grid, doesn't show up in your reel section of your Instagram, but it also doesn't get served to your followers. So who the fuck sees it? Well, I'll tell you who gets to see it. Loads of random people, because it serves it out to a bunch of randomers. They all get to see it, they all get to watch it, and then based on whatever fucking metrics Instagram's going to give you on that, you can then decide whether that reel is or is not successful. Okay? And then if it's successful, you keep it on your page. Cool. And if it's not successful, delete that motherfucker and move on with your life. Now, if from a business point of view and a brand point of view, I guess that's quite a helpful tool. It's a little bit like A/B testing if you're doing like web banners. So you put a couple out and see which one works a little bit more. And maybe because that's a very transactional interaction, it's kind of easy to look over and go, yeah, cool, useful tool. But my concern with these sorts of features is when they're just given out to the people of Instagram, the people that use it, the actual individuals, people like myself. But there's so many different sections and groups of people that use these social media apps. But when I'm talking about a lot of this, I'm really thinking about it from my sort of perspective, and people like me, creative people, making videos and taking photos, painting, building stuff, sharing their ideas and their creations and their stories and like thoughts and things like that, and sharing that stuff onto the internet. That's the sort of stuff that I like doing, and I speak to so many like-minded people on Instagram and YouTube, Twitter, whatever other one I'm using that are very similar to me, and I think of those people when these sort of things come out. So if I think about like my kids, right, and they are in that world where like the internet is just part and parcel of what they do. It's baked into their livelihood. And we are fairly strict on their internet usage. But most recently, my daughter, who does a lot of artistic stuff, she makes things and creates stuff and draws, and very, very good with paper and sellotape and glues and Posca pens, and she draws stuff, and I'm just like, fuck, I don't know where the heck you come up with these ideas, but I love just seeing the mad creations she makes. She's one of those kids who comes walking in the living room, she's like, Dad, what do you think of this? And she just like lays out some crazy creation thing that's just come out of her head, and she's just made it. And you could like give her a shoebox and a bunch of sellotape and she'll just make it into something. And I love that. It's like a free form expression. There's no rules, there's no guidelines. It's just a person's ideas and thoughts, and they just bring something to life. It's a real, as a parent, it's fascinating to watch. But just what I like about it is I watch her create stuff, and it reminds me all the reasons I like making stuff. I like just taking my thoughts and ideas and bringing them to life with no rules or guidelines, and I am trying my hardest to encourage her to carry on doing things like that, while also giving her guidance. And she's just like me. She hates it. See, if I give her an opinion, she's just like, ugh. And it could be the most useful opinion. Like, she did something the other day. She was designing something it wasn't Photoshop, it was some sort of app like that. And she was designing up these like fake shops. Like one was like a pet shop, one was like a hairdresser's, whatever the heck it was. And she'd made like a logo and like a shop front thing. And I hadn't shown her anything. I hadn't taught her to use this application. I hadn't. She just started doing this on one of my MacBooks. She was putting it on. She shows me it, and I was like, "That's class, love it." She did a couple more, and then she showed me this one that I thought was really quite good, for her age. And I said to her, just one opinion here. Your type at the top here, she had like 5 words in it, but the 5th word you had on the sentence below, and I was like, it was linked to 3 other words. So for example, it was something like the sun, the sea, the air, the water, something like that, right? And then it was just water was on its own in a new line, and I was like, there's no reason for that word to be on its own. It's in exactly the same fonts, it's in the same size. I was like, it's just gone on to the next line, so you need to either make that all one line, or you need to break that before and bring it around, so you sort of package the body of text nicer together. She was looking at me, eyes rolled as far back in her fucking head as she could possibly be. Oh, I don't need this. And I was like, no, but this is actually constructive feedback. In general, I think what you've done is great. 99% of it, amazing. I'm just saying to you, here's a tip. This is how you use type. And she was not, she didn't want to hear it at all. She was like, I like it, I got it. Which I was like, well, fair enough. I mean, I understand your argument. You're wrong, but I do understand your argument. It was hard because I was trying to get that balance of like explain to her that there are some rules and guidelines that need to not be followed, but just understood. And then you need to know when to break them. And that's a real tricky thing. It's a really tricky thing to teach a kid. Like, here's the rules and you need to obey them for the most part, but there's times when you can break them. And it seems a lot easier with creative stuff, like especially like I look at design, like my background's been graphic design for years. So designing, advertising, magazines, billboards, loads of shit like that. So I've done a lot of this, and my dad taught me traditional design and layout when I was younger, and that's sort of where I built everything from. So I have a keen eye on that sort of stuff, and I quite like it. So anyway, I was chatting to her about this sort of stuff, and she was getting annoyed at me for giving her opinion. So I was trying to balance that. How much opinion do I give her while also trying to keep her mind free? So she's been making all these things on like these different masks and hoods and animals and like puppets and shit out of paper. It's crazy stuff. And she said to me, can I start a YouTube channel to talk about my art? And I was like, well, why? And she was like, I just really want to share my art with people and talk to them about what I'm doing and tell people what I'm doing. And I was like, this is a hard thing, because I'm that age group that came from pre-internet and now I'm post-internet. And I'm like, well, I mean, do you need to? Like, I didn't have that, but at the same time, I have to understand that this is part of their future and what they're going to be doing. So I was like, okay, so we made some rules. I was like, you can have a YouTube channel to share your art, but you're not allowed to talk in it. You're not allowed to show your face. And you're not allowed to show defining features on you or in the room or house. You can't upload it with audio. There has to be music over the back of it, so there's no audio in the background. She was like, why? And then I had to talk to her about internet safety and explain that side of it. But my main concern was with the fact that she was creating all this cool shit, this like mad stuff that was just coming from her inner self. And she wanted to share it with the world, which is great. I love doing that. But the world can be a bitch. People who have nothing nice to say love to shout shit on the internet. And the people that will stand up for that and argue the right side don't necessarily always jump up and shout as loudly. Now, I have to admit, for the most part, my experience on the internet has been pretty good. I've had like a couple of sketchy people, a couple of weird interactions with people. One pretty mad one where some fucking dude just lost his shit with me on Instagram years ago and then started going mad on comments on stuff and then started threatening me and threatening my wife and like bordering on me getting cops involved. But I dealt with it face to face and found him. And a couple of little weird like people, like I used to post Instagram stories all the time, like we're pretty close to real time, and then I had a couple of odd characters just appear where I was, like, I saw your Instagram story, so I knew you were down here. And I was like, fuck that. So I stopped posting stuff in real time to allow me a bit more control. So there's this weird side to the internet, but for the most part, I have to admit, I've had a pretty good experience with it. Now, right now, if I make a video and put it on Instagram, I get a decent response. Yeah, there's some people that like will question things or maybe argue a bit, but generally it's kind of okay. Put it on TikTok and you just get assholes with opinions and comments. It's a tricky thing to deal with, but I'm old enough to be confident in the things that I do and confident in my opinion and what I'm talking about, and mostly happy with the things that I do. So while I do get opinions from people and I go, fuck's sake, some other asshole with an opinion, I can sort of brush it off and move on. But for kids who are still developing themselves, still developing their ideas, and not necessarily just kids, but adults who are exploring creative ideas or trying something or starting to put something out there, to base that on the opinions of anybody but yourself, that's where the issue starts. So with like my daughter, the reason I really didn't want her to do stuff on YouTube is I didn't want her to judge her work based on, input from the greater world, because it doesn't matter. Especially because she's young, especially because she's still developing her thoughts and her ideas and her approach and her creativity. So I said to her, right, okay, you can do this. We made a few ground rules, and she put a couple of little videos out. And they weren't very detailed. She was like filming things she'd made, and she just had a random name and a random account that's totally obscure. And she just puts bits of her art up. But she'd put up a video, and it'd been, I don't know, 2 videos up. One of them had like 300 views, which is fucking more than this podcast gets. And she was like, "This got 300 views." And I was like, "Motherfucker, what are you doing there? Let me see this. We need a trial reel so we can work out what you're doing, and then I'll be able to apply it." So I looked at her video, and she said something to me that really stuck out. She was like, "Oh, I'm so happy. Look what this person said." And it was like some random person, some random name. They were like, "Oh, this is so cool. I love what you've made here." And she was like, she was so stoked with this. Now, on the surface, you go, yeah, that's great. She feels good. Somebody said something nice about her art. She feels good. But also, it was the first example of how an outside influence can change your opinion or support your opinion of something that you've made. And I'm like, that's great if it's good. But what if the comment's bad? Then what's she going to do? But also, who cares if that person likes it or doesn't like it? Just because the comment's nice doesn't mean that interaction is good. I mean, maybe it does, I don't know. But I just think, like, for somebody like her who's in the early stages of her working her creative brain out, I don't want her deciding whether something she's made is good or bad because somebody else has said it's good or bad. I want her to make things that she's happy with. And then I think about people who are creating things, who are maybe older adults, okay? And there's a bunch of people that come to mind who I talk to daily on Instagram. I've got quite a decent community on Instagram myself, and I talk a lot to people about ideas and things they're trying to do, and people will ask me questions, and like I have people come to me and ask me questions on anything from gear to how do you do this to what are your thoughts on this to creative struggles, in the same way that I have peers that I ask to. We all have groups of people that we look up to or admire, or it sounds gonna blow my trumpet here, but I mean, or just see somebody doing something that maybe we struggle with, because I have that, and I ask people advice. So I like to share the things that I learn with other people. And one question that does come up a lot is like, how do you get the confidence to take an idea and just make it into a video and post it? And I'm like, well, I don't know. There's sort of a blind confidence to the whole thing. What I mean by that is it's like I'm kind of just going with my own idea before I've really thought about it. And some of my favorite ideas that I make are the ones where the distance from idea to creation is very, very short. And that's because I haven't really given it that much time to doubt myself. So I come up with an idea, I think that's cool, and I just fucking start on that idea. And the next thing is it's made. Now, sometimes I get stuck in the procrastination process of posting it. And prime example, I've got like 5 reels for Instagram that are they've been filmed and edited for the last week, and I haven't posted any of them because I'm like, oh, is that one good? Oh, do I need to post it? And the more I think about it, the more I just get in my own head and start to doubt everything that I'm trying to do. And that's just me getting in my own head. But that me, getting at me, isn't actually me. It's the me who's thinking about the opinions of all the people on the internet that might go, wanker, or we think this. Classic example, I posted a video on Instagram the other day, and this is like, you're going to hear this and go, that is so minuscule, Dill, who cares? I posted this video where I took the piss out of this update that Apple made. So whoever made the updates in the Apple OS 11, someone put this right next to eject disk. They put erase disk. So you right click on it on a hard drive or a thumb drive or whatever, and it pops up eject disk, and right below it is erase disk. And I was like, who the hell put that thing? Why do they need to be next to each other? I'm erasing disks. No, I'm not. I'm ejecting disks every single day, all the time. I'm constantly plugging disk drives in and out, but I'm not erasing shit. I don't need to be able to erase a disk with that instant access. I'm more than happy to open up disk utility and go and erase a disk. I need like a million steps before I get to the point where I can erase a disk. At no point I need to be like, just quickly erase that disk. Well, I'm just going to bang, done, everything deleted. Now, the very first thing I did was plugged in, as soon as I saw it, was plugged in an empty drive, hit erase to see what it did, and it popped up to a second window where it's like, hey, are you sure you'd like to erase this drive? If so, what would you like to name it? What format would you like to use? So it's the same as you would if you were using disk utility. So there is obviously a step, because they're not just going to let you do it, but you can do things like, I think it's Command E or something like that. And then you can it'll just erase it. So I did this little stupid video for my Reels and popped up, be like, oh, who the fuck did this? And I was like, getting angry at it kind of idea. But like, people who know me or have followed me for a while know I'm having a bit of banter, right? It's a bit playfulness. I'm getting angry so you don't have to kind of thing. It posted on Instagram, cool. People laughed. Didn't get a load of views. I had people DMing me going, fucking that annoys me too, and we all have a bit of banter. We all moved on live. Put it on TikTok, and some guy's like, oh, you do realize there's actually a second step on that? Yes, thank you, buddy, appreciate that. And then someone else was like, oh, why don't you just fucking hold down Command Alt and do it? That'll work better for you. Yep, thanks, because you want me to erase the drive with all the stuff on it. Cool, I appreciate it. And then some other guy who maybe wasn't being a dick, maybe it was an actual comment, but he was like, you do realize that there's actually a second step on this? Like, he was probably trying to be a nice dude, and I just wrote, yeah, thanks, buddy, I'm just trying to have a bit of fun. And every time I put things on TikTok, I get responses like that. Like, and the problem is, I guess they're scrolling through so many fucking actual idiots throughout their experience on TikTok. Then they get to me and they think, here's another idiot that doesn't understand. And I want to almost have to upload my video and go, just so you understand, I am not an idiot. I do understand what's happening here. I'm just making this for your entertainment and enjoyment. So just watch it, laugh at it, move on. If you want to add something to the story to make it funnier, do that. But you don't have to come at me. I'm not actually asking for help. I'm not going, oh my God, what am I going to do if I accidentally erase this? I do get it. It's just a joke, guys. It's just a joke, right? So I get these bits, and then I start thinking about those fuckers. All those like, no, what if that happens? What if this? And then the more I think about it, the more I start to second guess my whole idea that's already made and ready for the internet. So if that's me going through that, what is everybody else thinking? So then if I come up with an idea and I leave it too long before I make the idea, that space gets filled with me second guessing everything. And then I do something, which is I ask my wife, I'm like, what do you think of this? And I show her something. Now, for the most part, she's going to go, I love it, because it's me, regardless of whether it's good or bad. But then she's like, why are you asking me? And I'm like, I don't know. Because normally I'll just make something and I'll post it, and then she'll give me her opinion afterwards. Sometimes she likes it, sometimes she doesn't. If she likes it, cool. If she doesn't like it, I'll do what my daughter does. I roll my eyes and go, oh, storm, I don't need this. Storm off out of the room like a child. But the reason I do it is because I like my ideas, and I like my ideas to entertain me, and I want to be happy with my idea. And if other people love it, great. And if they don't love it, fuck off. I don't need your opinion. You know what I mean? Unless it's a constructive opinion that I've maybe asked for, or maybe you're like, hey, this is happening in your video, you could fix it. Well, again, then we're back to, I might be making a joke. So no, No opinions, okay? But you can give your opinions on this, by the way, this topic, because this is a conversational topic. This is what the podcast is about. So more than happy for you to add to the story on this. So don't be sitting there thinking, fuck, I'm not going to message Dill in case he comes around to my house with a torch. Like, fucking, I mean like a flame torch, not a flashlight, because that's going to do just shine it in your eyes. Wow, we've gone off on a tangent. So, yeah. When I think about those sorts of people who are trying to make stuff, and then like I've got people message me, ask me like, I tried to do something today, but I was worried about this, and then somebody said this, and I just don't know how to come. And I'm like, there's enough second guessing making your own content as is without all these outside interference, which is why I didn't really want my daughter posting stuff on the internet, because then she's judging whether she likes something based on what other people think rather than what she thinks. And the problem with that is, individuals and their creativity is what spurs on future creativity. Our ideas that we create out of our own very special experiences in life are magic. We all have a slightly different view on everything, and those little bits, all those little bits, the ingredients are what allow us to come up with these creative ideas. So the minute we throw it out for peer review, before we decide if something should be out there or whether it stays there or not, is the minute it fucking dies. In design world, it's called design by committee. You're like, hey, I've got a design, and you put it down in front of a desk of people that fucking do not do what you do. And I used to hate that. I used to come up with an idea and a design. I'd put it down and people would have a fucking opinion on it. And I'll share one, right? And if she ever hears it, she'll go home. But I did an ad when I worked in chain reaction cycles years ago, and I come up with this, and I'm not saying this is the best idea in the world, but it was just it's a great example of like opinions. I came up with this concept for an ad. They were like, right, we're now doing worldwide like delivery. It was like it was a small little bike shop based in Northern Ireland, expanded huge. I was part of the creative team, come up with like creative concepts for advertising, and then it was at this point where like, right, we are shipping worldwide. It's free worldwide shipping, right, on all bike products, which is insane. So I was like, yeah, cool. They're like, right, what should we do? So I came up with a concept. I sketched it all up. I wrote the copy for it, and they were like, cool. So then I got a stock image, and I built the whole design up and thing, right? And the gist of it is, it was we always called it the plane advert, but it was a double-page spread for bike magazines. It was a big like Boeing 747 with people loading stuff on it. We just purchased the image and like removed all the graphics from the plane. And I rewrapped the plane in fake chain reaction graphics, and it was like a big loading bay and dudes wheeling big things with the logo on the side of it, and they were putting it into the back. And the copy that I went with was just, we don't really own a plane, ... And that was it. And then in a small text down the bottom was like, you know, all the like the T's and C's of international shipping and maybe a minimum spend required on certain items and all this information. It was there in the web address and who to contact and the sales and the phone number and, you know, and then you'd have to change all those little details for every country that it went to America, China, or, you know, Australia, whatever that was. You have to change those details. But the gist of it was, we don't really own a plane. All right, that was the idea behind it. Anyway, I went to design by committee. And then everyone had their fucking opinions, and they all stirred the pot. And they were like, and really, like, we didn't need a million people involved in it. It was a cool idea. It was just fun and playful. It would make you think, we don't really own a plane? Well, what are chain reaction doing about a plane for? Even if someone just sees that, reads it, moves on with their life, and then like, it pops into their mind a month down the line, they don't own a plane because the fucking free worldwide delivery. But what had ended up happening, and the reason I just bring this one up is it kills me every single time I see it. And it pops up sometimes in like memories, and then like I have prints of it here, and there was prints of it in the fucking showrooms and shit. And they ended up saying, we don't really own a plane. We just wanted to let you know that we do worldwide deliveries. And it was like, fucking hell. You know, so it's one of those things that's in my portfolio, but it kills me. It kills me. So I have the original version that I came up with, and then the actual what went out version with a little explanation as to why. And like I said, I'm not saying it's the best ad ever. I'm just saying it was a great. I thought it was a cool idea. It was early days of me as a graphic designer, and it ended up just being pandered for the fucking, just, you know, for the lowest common denominator. Let's just write We're just letting you know that we do free worldwide delivery, just in case somebody is really confused about the plane. And I'm like, if they're confused about the plane thing, if they're that confused, that's the least of our worries. But no, we pandered for that person. And that stuff happens constantly. I still get it now where people do stuff and someone's like throws an opinion and you're just like, no, who cares? And it's because everybody likes to get involved in a creative process. Everybody has opinions on creativity. Like, it's just the way of the world. So we've got to really think about how we put these ideas out to the world and what we decide is successful or not. So my problem with trial reels is for people like me who will get, because I mean, I'm looking at going, I'm not going to fucking use trial reels, slide on. I mean, I might use it for client work. I might encourage them to use it, but I'm not going to use it. I'm not going to come up with my idea and put it out there and then go, let's see what people think, and then I'll decide whether I want to keep it or not. And I'm definitely not going to fucking put it out there to the fucking group of people that are not interested in me, don't know who I am, and I don't know who they are, and just go like, what do like fucking thousands of totally random people think of this? And then when they decide whether it's good or bad, do I decide whether I'm going to keep it? Because I have a very small following on Instagram, but the following that I have is kind of tight, and it's a good community, and you like what I do, you don't. I mean, I'm not really doing anything controversial. I'm also just not doing anything trend following. I just kind of do what I want to do because, like I said before, like I'm mostly trying to entertain myself and a few key people whom I know will laugh at the things that I'm doing. And if other people like that and enjoy it, great. But I don't really need to amass a huge following. I just do that for the fun and to be creative and come up with ideas. But I also get stuck second guessing it because of thinking of people's opinions. And I just think like the problem here is that we are already deciding what content we make based on the opinions of the internet. People put stuff up there and then one thing hits, one thing does well, and then someone's like, I'm just going to keep doing that. You think about the amount of people that just double down on an idea. They do a bunch of stuff they really love and they do one thing that's like, bang, that one got shit tons of views. I'm going to keep doing that. And then they just charge on doing the same thing, just regurgitating the same bullshit content. That's why we've got so many fucking people walking around the cities with microphones asking dumb questions, and photographers going up to people and going, hey, I'm a street photographer, can I take your photo? You look really amazing. And they're standing there in like the scruffiest clothes they could ever have owned, and they're thinking, there's no way that I look that great. You've come up to, but this is the thing, is because people have seen that work and they go, oh, that worked, I'm going to copy that. That guy did that, I'm going to copy that. And then what we end up with is just loads of people creating the same shit and everything becomes meaningless. So it's this idea, if you think of the saying, if you try to create something that everybody likes, you risk creating something that nobody loves. And that's the fucking problem with that. And that is the problem with trial reels. I'm going to create a reel, put it out there, see what a whole bunch of people who mean nothing to me, don't take that personally, loads of people that mean nothing, but I'm going to put it out to all these people that I have no connection with at the moment, and I'm going to let them decide whether I'm happy with the content that I've put out there, and then that will decide whether I post it or not. I just think it's a real shit way of doing stuff. We are already letting algorithms take over control of like followers. This idea that you used to follow a person or a brand or a thing for what they made, and now we just follow an algorithm. I just want to follow people who stop people in the streets and take photographs of them. I just want to follow people that review cameras. And then it becomes no more about the person and their art. It just becomes about the content, what the algorithm decides we should see. And the problem with the algorithm deciding what we should see is everything first off becomes boring, and then we don't have our own personalized journey. We don't create our likes and dislikes based on the way we've sort of navigated and meandered through the world of content creation and art and imagery and sounds and visuals and stuff. We just go, oh, I like this one thing, and then the algorithm's already going, oh, you like that one thing, well, you'll like these 6 things. And then before you know it, you've gone down this journey and you've maybe missed a whole load of really cool stuff that would have inspired you to carry on going, because you followed the algorithm, because it's decided mathematically that you'll like these things. Math ain't art. I mean, maybe it is. Maybe somebody would argue that. But if you take that mathematically, then you follow in numbers. And this is no better. Trial reels. So not only are we having to battle with that, but now we're going to expect people to come up with an idea, and then stick it out there to see what people think first before we post it. You could just post it, and if you get told you're a dickhead in every single thing and that makes you feel shit, you could delete it, or you could just leave it if it was your own art. You know, we all need to stop worrying about what everybody thinks about all of our stuff. People just need to make things. Caveat to that, though, is a lot of people making shit, real shit content, but that is got nothing to do with whether they should be seeing what people think. They should just have their fucking internet privileges revoked for making poor content and polluting our ears and eyes on a daily basis. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, so go make your shit. Don't worry about what people think. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next episode.
Yeah, you better.
Let's get the fuck out of here. It's still cold. Jesus Christ.